First, I would like to talk to you a little bit about the difference between these different templates. So I have in my install, I have a couple of templates, but the real difference is between these ones here. So let's see together why. There is a language difference how data is stored between these in these templates. So these first two are actually different than the second two. These first two will work with an HTML, and these here, the ones which you create as MGML templates, will be working with an MGML language, and that will be translated into an HTML. This might sound a little bit weird that you have two different standards, but that's how it works right now. So let me show you what this exactly means. So let's look into this one. This is in code mode. What happens if I, oops, sorry, I went to the wrong one. Let's go to the blank first. So if you are going to the blank one, this is very simple. It's a very simple email builder. So you can just drag and drop and everything will work just out of the box. Yeah. So absolutely no problem. You can resize the pictures and you can make beautiful templates. But how is the data stored here? The data is stored in HTML. This is HTML language. Now HTML doesn't let you to create so flexible and easy to change templates. You can make your email here, but that's not a template. You won't be able to just drag and drop certain items very easily. Almost, but not 100%. So let's look at another template, and this is why we are creating templates for Mautic. And by we, I mean it can be you as well. If I go here in the builder, this is a ready template. It's written in MGML. And if I can move these things around, and they will actually be totally fine. They will work really nicely, and everything will be working. So if before I didn't move the image, but if you move things around, like the whole thing you can move, or you can move just a block somewhere, everything is beautifully working. Because it's stored in two languages at the same time. It's stored in MGML and also translated to the equivalent of HTML. And that's valid all the MGML created templates. If you go for this one here, it will be only saved in one language, only in HTML. So that means it's harder to change later. Normally you wouldn't see this, but this is the reason why you want to create MGML templates. So if I add something here, these three blocks here will be created as HTML. If I go here and do the same thing, it will keep the MGML language. So this one here will be saved as MGML blocks. Okay, so you can see here the MGML markup. But the point is that when you create a new template, you should understand which way you want to go. You want to just create one ad hoc template right now, and by template I mean email. You want to create just one right now and use it, and later maybe create another one, completely different one, or make little changes. Or you want to give someone the opportunity to change all the elements and drag and drop these elements. For that you would need an MGML language template. Okay, let's go further. Let's speak a little bit about how these templates are built up and how a good email is actually organized into different sections. So if you click here, you can see the section divider as well, and we can understand a little bit more how this is built up. So normally you have sections, which is pretty much the lines of that section here. So you can see these lines here. That's like a line in a newsletter. And in this line you can have multiple columns. You see it's written here. So these are the columns you can use. So if I want to have like a 3-column thing, I just come here and then I have 3 content blocks. This will here create, in MGML language that would be a section and a column as well. This would be one section with 3 columns. You can have also one section with 1 columns and one section with 2 columns. So I want to a little bit look at that, what these columns means, that we would understand how this newsletter is built up. So let me show you what I mean by that. So the email consists of sections. These are the lines, like you would take a table and then you have different lines in them. So these are the the horizontal units of the email, let's put it this way, of the design. In these sections we're putting in different things. The sections will have columns inside. This helps us that in that certain line or horizontal structure there is another structure which can be broken down into multiple parts. And the cool thing is that you can resize these parts, so you can have like a 25-75 division as well if you want. But the point is that the sections always contain the columns. And then these columns will have the blocks. The blocks are those parts, the blocks are those units which you can find on the right side of the builder. I'm going to show you in one moment. And these blocks can be, so you can have multiple blocks in one column. So like here in the bottom you see you have a section which consists of 2 columns, and in these 2 columns you have 2 blocks. So the email builder is divided by 2 sections here, but actually it should be 3, but this section, this here, it contains the columns and the sections as well. Because when you choose one of these units, one of these columns here, the one column design element, let's say, when you choose it, you will get your section and the column already. This is the 2 column version. You will get one section with 2 columns. You can see it here. And these are the blocks what you can freely push into your design to enrich your newsletter. So basically it's cool because with MGML language you're supposed to have these 3 different layers, but you only have 2, which is kind of cool. It will create for you some problems later. I will tell you what, but that's just how the builder is. Don't really worry about that, but I will show you what to watch out for. Now let's go through the main user interface first. So here, these 3 icons, you can change the different views. You can see the desktop, tablet, and mobile view. With these arrows you can jump, undo, and redo your actions. This here will turn on the lines, so you know actually where to put stuff. This is really cool. You can have full screen here. This one here will show you the code. In our case, I am building an email with HTML code, like I explained it before, what it means. You can edit the whole code here if you wish to. And this is for decoration specific to that element. So you can change, like basically edit the element here. And here you can switch back to the sections and close the app. So when you look at something like this here, this selection, then we are selecting just that box, and you can see it because it says box. Now I go here, I have the same thing, it's a box what is selected. If you click here, then you go out to the next box. This is essentially the section here which contains that box. And this is really cool because sometimes you have lines so close to each other that it's really hard to select the right one. So you just click on this up and then it selects the box above it. So it selects the unit which is including this previous one. And you can move these around. So this is the way to move your things around. And you can also duplicate them. In this case, everything is in this one probably, so that's why it's duplicating everything. So if I wanna just duplicate them under each other, I would have to create another section for that. You can create a new section just by dragging and dropping it into an area. There are this double, the triple, and this 1 to 3 to 7 sections. And later you can put different kind of content into these sections what you create for your newsletter. It's pretty self-explanatory. These are the different blocks you can use right now. This might change. In fact, it's possible that you have another type of install with raw and hero. It depends what version you have. This is now the latest one I pulled. There is a chance that in the future there will be different new blocks added to the email builder. So let's have a full section here, and let's start with the buttons. So that's how the button looks like. Each of these blocks can have their own properties, and you can open the style manager And this menu here will be always different based on the block you try to edit. So for example, here I can add a title, an href, and I can also edit the text. So I can do that. This is a link which points at google.com. And by double clicking on it, I can also edit this button. So I can say button 51, whatever. So I go over it again, and I can choose the target. It should be new window or not. I can change the size of it. The dimensions are always referring to this box. So I can say this is 200 pixel, for example. Then it's going to be a lot wider. The height can be also different. So I can make like 50 pixel. You can also use percentage for that. And then there is margin and padding, and I will cover this in the next part of this tutorial, because that's very specific to anything which has some kind of alignment. Let's go through the blocks first. So this is the button. Let's go back to the blocks. The divider is pretty simple. It's just a line. Again, you can change the size of it here. So you can have a divider which is 50 pixel, and then it looks like a gray area. Usually these are quite small, so maybe 5 pixel or something. Again, I can duplicate it, and then I can move them around as well if I want to put them into different places. Obviously I shall put it in that places where it matters, because otherwise it won't be visible, like for example here. Okay, so let's go back and look at the text. It's just a simple text, so you have this editor where you can edit the text itself. The cool thing is that you can also use dynamic content here. So, I mean, not dynamic content, sorry, but tokens. So you can say, for example, I want to do hello, and then have the first name. Then you would choose it from here, first name. Sorry. So you would check here, what's the first name, the user's first name here. And then it will automatically insert the right text. This here, the text section, gives you a header. In some other email editors, they have this separately, so they usually have a header block. We have it together because the header is very often followed by another block. You can delete it, so if you just want the header, that's fine too. And this is also what you see is what you get editor in terms of this area here. The size of the and the font and everything is always typical for that block. So I have to go here and change it. I can change the typography, I can change the font, and I can change weight, how bold it is, how what's the letter spacing, so I can make it more wide from each other. Here I change the line height, so this can be just let's do it this way, that we go through the line height, and you can change the line height as well. So I go to this section here, go to typography, and now the line height, that means the difference between the lines. Normal means it's approximately like this, but you can have it bigger, so you should always have it bigger as your font, otherwise it's pressed together. So if you have font 16, it should be at least 18, then you have a little bit bigger one as usual, but you can go more. So this is how you pull the text apart. You can also have alignment here and different text decoration from superscript, strike through, and underline. And the font style, italic or regular. And you can also have the vertical alignment, so it should sit in the base, or it should be somehow higher. Base meaning the bottom of that certain area. And you can also deal with borders. I'm gonna cover that a little bit later. You can also set text shadow if you know what is that and how it works. I'm not gonna go into that. There is really big depth to this topic. So I won't be able to cover everything, but pretty much if you choose any of these blocks by clicking here, you are able to change any attributes of that certain area. Okay, let's go further. What else we have here? That was the text section. We also have the image. So when you open an image, let's choose something from here. I'm gonna go with this one here. Let's say this picture. If you choose an image, you have a little bit different settings here, because with images it's a complete different story how to position them. I'm gonna cover that just in a moment in the next part of this tutorial. But you have the same ability, the same background coloring and size changes you can make. Okay, a quote is just a formatted text. It's just a different format for you. This is a link, simply like this. Obviously, you can have links here as well, so you can just have a link like this. And there is also so-called link block. And for me, that doesn't work, so I won't be able to show you. I don't even know if it's going to make it into the final version. So the grid item is multiple columns with multiple content. So you have an image, for example, like this, and you have a header and you have a text. Now here, this function, this little arrow comes really handy because you can move out from that. You can move up and up and up and eventually grab the whole box like this. So if I want to delete this, then I would delete the whole thing. Otherwise, if I don't go up enough, so I just delete this, then I have some stuff left. So I'm gonna have to delete that separately. It's coming back to that. Remember when I was giving these different frames? So I was talking about this here actually. Okay, that was the grid items. The list items is very similar, just they are under each other. And you also have the dynamic content, and this is actually really cool. This is typical to Mautic. You can have some kind of content saying default content, and you can have another content which is only for the ladies. So if you have something like gendered, of course I don't have that. So what do I have here? I have double opt-in. So if double opt-in equals yes, then this will be visible. Sorry, ladies. So I'm gonna do only for double opt-in. This text here is only visible if this is valid, this question here, this filter. And the default is visible for others, basically. If you don't have any variation, then the default will be visible. Okay, so that's the dynamic content. So pretty much, so much I wanted to say about the builder itself, the different blocks and attributes, and I would like to devote a little bit more time to this here. What is a margin? What is padding? What is a border? Because this information is the trickiest if you deal with emails, and in general if you deal with HTML, because that decides how your images and your whole email will look like. So stay with me. I'm gonna continue in just a moment. So let's talk about this padding, margin, border thing. Normally you would not learn this, but this tool gives you more control over your content, so you actually can fine-tune your images, which means you really have to understand what the setups are. But don't be afraid, these are just four concepts which I'm going to show you now. Actually, it's really two, divided into 4 parts, and you will understand everything how images are dealt with in the internet world. So we have dimensions. These are the sizes of the picture. So how wide it is, how high it is. This is basically what you have to know. How wide and high your picture really is. That's the most important thing. Then you have padding. Padding is the distance between the borders of the image inside of the center of the image. So how small you want to resize your image altogether. Margin is like an area where you don't, outside of your image, So that's everything which is around your image, and border is how thick the border of your image is. But I actually can explain it to you a lot better. So let's say you have a picture. This one has certain width, certain height. If we add padding to it, then what happens is that the picture itself, our content, gets smaller, and the padding is the amount how much smaller the picture actually got. So in this case, if we set up the padding everywhere, let's say 10 pixels, then we have something like this, because this 10 pixels is eating into the picture. Okay, so if we add border to it, it's like a frame, yeah. So this picture has a border actually. So that's how the border should be understood. We have the padding here, and then we have the border. Most of the time the borders are 0, so you set everywhere 0 and you don't worry about it. If you want, you can also have a color. For example, this one has a red color here, but most of the time we don't add borders to the pictures. And margin is the area outside of that. So you always have the padding, the border, and the margin. For example, this picture has 0 everything because it doesn't have anything. Then we add the 10 pixel padding, then we add some border, and if we want, we can also add some margin. As you can see, our picture got a lot bigger. So maybe the size of the picture, which is actually defined in this area, maybe that's, let's say, 500 times 800, but the actual picture is bigger because we added the border and we added the margin as well. So if I want to be really precise, then this is how it should be understood: content, padding, border, margin. Okay, so next time you see a picture, any kind of picture on the wall, you should always remember that that picture has a padding, it has a frame which is the border, and the margin is around it. And that helps you to place the next picture on the wall, because you will not put it into the margin of that picture. Okay, so I hope you're going to be able to use padding, margin, and border from now on. But you can just also play around with it and see what happens. I would also like to talk a little bit about the mandatory fields, and I'm talking about the unsubscribed text and the web view text. As you can see, these are added as tokens, which means they start with the curly bracket, then it says web view text and unsubscribed text. Now, we can use different tokens here. For example, we could also use, instead of the curly bracket web view text, I could say curly bracket web view URL. Now, here is the difference. The web view URL will just display the URL where you click, and then it brings you to the preview of this newsletter. You know, sometimes you see like, you don't see the pictures, click here, it's in a newsletter. So that's the URL here. If you add web view text as a token, then you will see the whole expression. So it will create the text saying you don't see this newsletter images, then click here, and the URL as well. So make sure you're using the right format. Same with the unsubscribed text. As a default, the unsubscribed text, and I'm going to show you in a moment where it's set, will give you the text and the link as well. But if you say unsubscribe URL, then you will just have the URL. So for example, I would have something like unsubscribe here, and then I have the link, and the link itself would be the unsubscribe URL. So this is how unsubscribe works. Let me quickly show you where you can set the text. If you decide to have the whole text inserted, I'm going to show you where to set it. So let's go to settings, config, email settings, and then this is your web view text token. So if you enter this, having trouble reading this email, click here. And if you use web unsubscribe URL, then it's going to be like this: no longer receive emails from us. And here, by the way, you can also check the message. So if someone clicks on that, they will just go to a page saying, hey, sorry to see you go, and you can resubscribe if you want. So that's how that goes. So I think we should make a real newsletter now. Okay, let's make our first newsletter. I will do it from scratch using the blank template, because the other ones already give me great opportunity to create beautiful templates. I just want to show you how easy to do it from zero. Please remember, we will end up with an HTML code. Let's do our regular template here. So I'm just going to do a test here. Test, okay, and I'm going to do my test segment and go to builder. Okay, so let's make this more organized here a little bit. Okay, so first what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create more sections here, which will later pretty much correspond to my design, the design I would like to have. And I'm gonna have just the main area in my email, then I'm gonna have like a double section, and then I'm just gonna have some text at the bottom, something like this. This is pretty cool. Just gonna do something simple. So let's start with an image. Actually, I will not start with an image. I'm gonna start with some kind of headline probably here. So, well, I can use this text as well. So I'm gonna call this retro news. Okay, let's organize this text. So for editing, we come here and we're gonna go put this in the middle. We can also change the background color if we want. So we can do something, I don't know, white, like let's do red, like this. But then change the font color to something lighter so we can have this contrast. Okay, I will just leave the text here. I will add some images. So let's go back to the blocks and just simply pull the images here. So what do you have here? I have already some pre-made content. Let's do this one. And let's another one here. Just nicely next to each other. Okay, like this. You see, we have this line here, which means these pictures are too big. So how big are they? Let's find it out. It says auto, which means we have the maximum of the original size of this picture. You can also turn off the lines if this is disturbing you, but I want to stay into this line because that shows me the 600 width, which is easier to nicely displaying into the email builders. So I can either manually make this smaller like this, or I can actually say here I want this 260 wide. But this one I will leave auto, so it will remain the image will remain the same structure, so you will not make it like too fat or too tall. And here we're gonna do the same thing, so we're gonna do a width of 60. Now we have a little bit of space, so we can play with our padding, and we're gonna make on the right and the left simply 5 for this image and also for this, so it's a little bit more organized. Okay, I can push it out until the end if I want, it's no problem. Then I would use 0 padding here, but I like to have it like this right now. Okay, so here I'm just gonna add some text, say like this. I'm gonna do, oops, just simply some lorem ipsum. Okay, so let's add the button. So if I add the button here, then I will have a problem because this button cannot be moved into the middle. Why? Because the button is hanging in this section, and the section's alignment will tell us where the button is. So I can put it in the middle, but then the text will be in the middle as well. So what I need to do here, I have to create another section for it, just for the button, so I can freely move it around. So I'm going to do a new section here under it. I just push the button here, and then I click on the button, look for the attributes, and set the alignment. Oops, sorry, misclicked. So I choose the whole thing, not the button, because I want to set the alignment for the whole thing, and then click here, and the button will be in the middle. If you want to make the button different colors or different size, you can add it here after clicking on it. So let's say we would like to have the same red button, and this button has a huge border with the same color. Oh, we don't have that red. I don't know what that red is, so I'll just copy it here. Okay, like this. But we would like to make it a little bit bigger, so we will go to our old we will go to our old friend padding. Not so much, let's say 5 on the top, 30 here, 30 here, and 5 here. So this is a nice big button. You can also change the font size. I can make it 30 if I want a big one. And I also wanted to show you, sometimes you have these round buttons. That's called border radius. So we're gonna give here 20. So you see, it's gonna be huge round edges around that button. So this is how you create the buttons. It's that simple. You can also have the text alignment changed and so on. Okay, so that's done. What else we can do? Yeah, we could give dynamic items and links. I think you understand. I'm gonna show you one more thing here regarding the footer. So for the footer, usually it's a different color just to have some kind of frame to this whole thing. And I'm gonna give it, just let's do the same, that we have some kind of framing here. And all the text should be white. So I'm gonna change this to white, like this. And that's pretty much it. If I want, I can add more items to this footer. I could add, more text here. I could also make that white, just to be consistent, font color white. Okay. And I could have here my company name and everything. So I can say Joy Company, whatever, I don't know, street name 1. But I would make this probably with smaller letters. So let's choose it. Go to font decoration and have some kind of smaller letter for that. Actually, the best would be to change it here. Okay. And of course I can change the, where the text is, in all cases to make it more look like a footer. So that's, I think, all you need to learn about the newsletter design. Of course, I didn't end up with a beautiful newsletter. I don't think that was really the goal. Yeah, I hope I covered everything. If not, then just add your questions.